Hello and welcome to The Week That Was, TIOL's weekly news roundup. Today we bring you news on the implications of drink baron Mr. Vijay Mallyas' passport revocation, an insight into political donations, efforts by the judiciary to reduce case pendency.
We also bring you news on clarifications issued by the CBDT, the demand for celebrities to become more responsible about endorsements, besides some news on import of dogs being conditionally banned in India. But first, let's find out about India's efforts to get Malya deported from UK.
Malya faces trial for fraud and money laundering as a willful defaulter of bank loans and diversion of loan funds overseas. He has various Indian authorities, including Indian banks, the Enforcement Directorate, and the CBI, burning the midnight oil on the case with regular reports going right up to the PMO. Even while the Enforcement Directorate explored the possibility of charging Malya with using loan funds to finance the purchase of properties overseas, the government revoked Malya's diplomatic passport in an effort to bring him back to India. The diplomatic passport was issued to him for being a Rajya Sabha member, from which he may well be expelled. The Ministry of External Affairs has also formally written to the UK government requesting his deportation. Obviously, Malya is resisting coming back to India because he would be arrested, and the plight of the Sahara chief can scare anyone. We spoke with the former Solicitor General of India, Mr. Mohan Parasaran, in a telephonic conversation for his views on Malya's situation. Mr. Parasaran, what are the implications of the revocation of Mr. Malya's passport? Does it get India closer to getting its funds back?
No, it will not get India anywhere to get the funds back, but it will put a lot of pressure on Mr. Vijay Malya because the consequence of cancellation or revocation of his passport will mean that he can't move out of the United Kingdom and travel to any other foreign jurisdiction. Mere cancellation or revocation, I think, is only a paper tiger.
So the cancellation will in effect only restrict his movements?
That can restrict his movement, and possibly, I think tomorrow the courts can also declare him as a proclaimed offender also, and possibly I think that can strengthen case for deportation on the ground of having committed economic offences. They can say that it is a matter which concerns a serious economic offence committed in India.
Mr. Malya's name is reportedly on the electoral rolls of UK. So he has a passport to travel on.
They don't say he has got a British passport. His name is only found in the electoral rolls. That can also be a mistake. They can come for enumeration. He owns a house there, and therefore I think possibly his name might have got into the electoral rolls. That doesn't mean that he has a twin passport, no? Unless so far I think he has not made any declaration with regards to his British passport.
But if your name is on the electoral rolls, does it not mean that you are a citizen of that country?
See, you must be, unless you are a citizen of the country, you can't get your name entered into electoral rolls, or a refugee, as it happens in West Bengal. They also somehow actually in India, they get their names entered into the electoral rolls. I think records in the public do not indicate that he is a British passport holder as well.
Mr. Malya is in his 60s. What if he were to die tomorrow? What are the chances of Indian banks being able to get their funds?
See, only the legal proceedings will have to go on, whatever properties that remain, because banks are secured to a creditors. Therefore, they can go against whatever property which has been owned or controlled and left behind in the unfortunate event, God forbid. I do not know the realization will be anywhere near the amounts due to the banks. No? The problem is the banks have been very, very recalcitrant and very charitable towards Mr. Malya, no? From the beginning.
Will declaring Malya as a serious economic offender help India's case?
Yeah, then you have to start extradition proceedings before the English courts, Then the English courts will actually should be convinced that he is a serious offender and that he would get a fair trial in India.
Thank you, Mr. Parasaran, for taking the time to speak with us. That was the former Solicitor General of India, Mr. Mohan Parasharan, speaking with TIOL Tube. The judiciary and the executive are coming together to resolve the problem of case backlog.
Any animosity between the executive and the judiciary over appointment of judges seems to have been set aside at the joint conference of Chief Ministers and Chief Justices. For the first time, Chief Ministers and Chief Justices have agreed to resolve the huge issue of escalating case pendency by appointing retired High Court judges as provided in the Constitution. The procedure for these appointments shall remain the same as the appointment of a High Court judge. A collegium of Chief Justice and 2 senior judges of a High Court shall recommend the name of a retired High Court judge for appointment as an additional High Court judge. The appointment shall be finalized by the President of India for a tenure not exceeding 3 years. The Chief Justices shall soon initiate the exercise with the recommendation of names. The Chief Ministers and Chief Justices also decided to appoint retired judges of the lower courts to reduce case pendency in these lower courts by holding morning and evening court. The Chief Ministers have agreed to provide the funds needed to set up the courts. Earlier in March, the Chief Justice of India, Mr. T.S. Thakur, had suggested hearing and finalization of cases during the summer holidays if the counsel of both the sides were willing. Which political parties receive the largest chunk of political donations? Let's find out.
Could there be a correlation between the quantum of political donations received by a political party and winning the elections? Electoral trusts set up by the big corporates to make political donations have brought in some transparency. Figures show that the BJP received the largest chunk of political donations from electoral trusts, with the Congress party coming a distant second. While BJP received Rs 111 crore, the Congress got only about Rs 31 crore out of political donations of Rs 177 crore, which was made to 19 political parties by 6 electoral trusts. These figures are from the contribution reports submitted to the Election Commission for 2014-15 by 6 electoral trusts, including those set up by the Bharati Group, the KK Birla Group, the Tatas, the Murugappa Group and the Bajaj Group, which were analyzed by the Association of Democratic Reforms, an election watchdog body. To discourage further litigation, the CBDT has issued a clarification.
Department officials continue to file appeal against payment of interest on TDS refunds due to an assessee, even though the Supreme Court had delivered its verdict settling this controversial issue. The Central Board of Direct Taxes has now issued a clarification that if a resident assessee is entitled for refund of TDS deposited under Section 195, then it has to be refunded with interest under Section 244A of the Act from the date of payment of such tax. This is in line with the Apex Court's verdict that the refund due and payable to the assessee is a debt owed and payable by the revenue. The revenue is under obligation to reimburse the deductee with accrued interest for the period of undue retention of the monies. The board has accordingly advised that the department may no longer file appeals on this ground, and appeals already filed on this issue may not be pressed upon. Well, these clarifications will put to rest further litigation on these issues. Can the celebrity endorsing a product be made accountable for its genuineness?
It's no longer caveat emptor or let the buyer beware. Even the celebrity endorsing a product must carefully choose the brand ambassadorships or pay the penalty. The Parliamentary Standing Committee on the Consumer Protection Bill 2015 has suggested fines and even a jail term for celebrities, even those honoured with national awards, for being involved in misleading advertisement of products. The committee has proposed stringent provisions in the Consumer Protection Bill against misrepresentation of a product, especially a food product. Considering the influence celebrities may have, the committee has recommended that the celebrity endorsing a misleading product may be penalized for a first-time offence with either a fine of Rs 10 lakh and imprisonment of up to 2 years or both. Recently, India's cricket captain Mr. MS Dhoni appeared in the advertisements of a real estate company but had to quickly dissociate himself from the company after complaints by flat buyers. Does this mean celebrities endorsing fairness creams or magical deodorants with magnetic pull must have a valid reason for doing so besides fees alone? The government has tightened the rules for import of dogs into India.
The huge market for foreign dogs in India will suffer a setback because the government has banned the import of dogs into India for the purpose of breeding. The Central Board of Excise and Customs has issued a circular tightening the policy conditions for import of dogs. Henceforth, foreign dogs may be brought into India only as pet dogs with a health certificate or be imported by research and development organizations for conducting research with the recommendations of CPCSEA, which is the Committee for the Purpose of Control and Supervision of Experiments on Animals. Dogs may also be imported by defense and police forces for internal security. Import of dogs for breeding or any other commercial activity is no longer permitted. On this note, we conclude this bulletin of the week that was. Thank you for watching.
You may write us on editor@tiol.in. Have a wonderful weekend ahead.